We don't talk a lot about other programs besides Georgia on here. Obviously, we talk a lot about Alabama and Ohio State and people like that, but I don't make it a practice of talking about other places. But with what's going on at Auburn right now, I just I don't know if people realize sort of how bad it looks slash how bad it is right now at Auburn. And yet another coordinator has left the program at Auburn. That means that we'll be through five coordinators for Brian Harsin in no time. And if I'm mispronouncing his name, um, maybe win a few games that matter, and I'll pronounce it correctly. Hate to be that way, but it's just what it is. It makes no sense to me that you would go this deep into your tenure and have this many coordinators. We're not even at year two, and I'm going to lay all this out. It's not just this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in Auburn that just doesn't make sense to me. But before we do that, make sure you get in DAWGSTRUCTION. We're going to press this week, um, and in order to get your copy before the second printing occurs, please make sure that you're ordering it today, and we'll get it out to you as fast as we can. Um, Hopefully, that's extremely fast. But now we've learned that Austin Davis has resigned at Auburn. He's not even been there. I think he got hired right on top of Christmas, and it's just hard for me to understand how this is this bad. Well, I understand how it can be this bad, but he talks about how it's personal decisions that made him leave Auburn. You fired Mike Bobo, which was, I guess, not a fit, even though he has been a superb offensive coordinator through the years in the SEC. Uh, I can't understand kind of what's going on right now at Auburn because Bo Nix has left. Um, it's the one that really makes the least amount of sense to me is why would Derek Mason, who has very good credentials in terms of being a coordinator, just generally speaking, not even in the SEC. But why would him leaving to go to Oklahoma State make any sense? I mean, let me tell you something. I've been to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and nobody in their right mind would go to work there or live there. I mean, it's desolate. There's not much there. So I'm not sure what's going on at Auburn right now, but in order, you've had, a 6-7 season, I think it was. Well, let me make sure it wasn't a 6-6 season. But before I sit here and lie about the Auburn Tigers, um, yeah, I mean, it's just not going well. 6-7 with losses. I mean, their best game was a loss to Alabama. But you watch Auburn play, and they had to save themselves. They should have lost to Georgia State. Let's just call it what it is. Their best win was over Mississippi, which there are times that the SEC West makes just no sense in any way, and that's all there is to it. But to conclude the season with five consecutive losses, A&M, State, at South Carolina, that is not acceptable. And then to lose to Houston after you took Alabama to four overtimes, I don't know where you point to and say this is going well. I mean, they fought Penn State, who turned out to not matter, which James Franklin teams typically don't. They were 7-6. You lose to Georgia, you just completely outclassed by Georgia, okay? 34-10. Gutted out against Arkansas, a huge win over Mississippi, which made no sense, but it's the SEC West, so sometimes no, reality-based things are, just hard to come by. So there's so much competition over there, and I'm not joking. I'm being serious. I'm not being facetious at all. And got routine by Texas A&M, couldn't score. They've come back against Mississippi State. I mean, I was watching that in horror on field level at Neyland as that game was happening. It was just impossible to understand. And then, but even worse, I mean, like losing to South Carolina, like that is a bad loss for Auburn. That should not happen, and it did. Now it was in Columbia, okay, and then a week later go and fight tooth and nail against Alabama, had them beat and lost, and then the loss to Houston was predictable. Because Houston's not a bad team, but you had all that, and then Bo Nix is leaving after the injury. I mean, Bo Nix, the Nix family is. I mean, it is Auburn football, and now he's checking out. And you've got, you fire Bobo. Okay, so Bobo's the scapegoat, and then you lose Nix. Tank Bigsby. Let's just, let's see how that plays out. And then you've got losing Derek Mason, and now you've hired another coordinator who has since left. What is going on? I mean, it is clearly not working. And I mean, it's not just the results, it's everything that's leading to the results. It's a bizarre thing to, to, Auburn has been very up and down and more mediocre than anything over the last 8 years, from 2014 on, 8 seasons. And to watch that program now see LSU win a national championship, Georgia win a national championship, Alabama, obviously, multiple national championships. Now it's got to be Auburn that wonders, what are we doing wrong? And the short answer is a lot. You overpaid Gus Malzahn, a coach that you had leverage on. You should have let him leave. Mistake number one. Let him go. You fire him soon thereafter. I mean, you should have let him go soon thereafter. After giving him what he wanted, you fire him. Why? Because it wasn't working. Now 6-7. It's not working with this guy right now. I mean, he's going to have to turn it around. But this is far more chaotic than Gus Malzahn's time ever was at Auburn. I mean, just far more chaotic. And I remember at the beginning of the season, the idiot TV pundits, who I'm not going to get into naming, were talking about how he was turning it around at Auburn. No, he was not. He was 6-7 as after his first season. No, that's not okay. It was not okay when Mark Richt went 6-7 at Georgia in 2010. It's not okay. Your first season is an indicator of where you're going as a program. And right now, Auburn is going exactly nowhere. And this is not working. Now, how long it will take to reconcile that, I don't know. Jeff Collins at Alabama, at Georgia Tech, you could tell it wasn't working the first season. Now, is that the case right now at Auburn? I think this looks worse than Jeff Collins. The only caveat I have with all of this is you have a superb running back in Tank Bigsby, the best running back that's returning in the country. But that's not going to exclusively, that one thing is not going to win you games against Georgia and Alabama. It's got to be more. So more than that has to happen. And this chaos in the program makes people think exactly what an assistant coach in the SEC said, off the record this past spring. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. And right now, it looks like Brian Harsin does not know what he's doing. I'll give you another anecdote, and it doesn't matter. People think you can treat the media like shit, and it doesn't matter. But you shouldn't treat people like shit. And I was after Georgia Auburn game, and we're sitting there, and it's a Zoom, and Georgia's beating Auburn in the 3:30 CBS game, the usual time and all this stuff, and the Braves are on. Braves are a big deal in Alabama, and Brian Harsin is waiting like over an hour to do his press conference. Over an hour. There's no scenario where that should be the case. That's number one. Number two, you are missing out on all of the 7 o'clock news. I mean, it just and you're pissing everybody off in the meantime. The people that you use to get your message out are they don't care if you win or lose, but they're aggravated that they're having to sit there and wait for you, make a decision to wait for you to do a press conference. I mean, just do it and be done with it. Auburn needs all the help it can get in the situation that it's in because it's in a state that's dominated by Alabama. It needs all of the good things to happen it can. And right now, with Brian Harsin, it's not working right now. Let's see what happens as we move forward. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's some major, major red flags right now. Losing Bo Nix, that is bad. The coordinator shuffle, that is not good. It had better be a good season in 2022, or there's going to be some real. And I mean, the other thing I'll add here too is, and I've never had to talk about like this with Auburn, they got a money problem over there right now. And if they don't, they wouldn't have had however many million they were in the red coming out of this past the pandemic. They got TV money and still were in the red, double TV money. Uh, Better get better, but it might not. We'll see.